Hey guys, Matt Kwan from the Essential Jiu Jitsu podcast, and this is just a PSA for all of our listeners and our subscribers about what's been going on behind the scenes with the podcast lately. So, a couple of months ago, I was messaged by Mr. JT Torres, who, as you probably know, is a grappling legend, multiple time ADCC champion, someone who I've studied for a long time. I've looked up to JT Torres for a long time. He actually messaged me and said, this is a couple of months ago, before Christmas, and he said, "Hey Matt, just letting you know that your podcast name actually clashes with the name of my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Academy. As you may know, JT Torres' academy is called Essential Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and he asked me to kindly change the name of the podcast. I didn't say I would or I wouldn't. I just said, hey, this is a huge hassle for me, and Are you willing to take legal action against me? Where do you see this going?" And he basically left me on red. And then I got a notification on Instagram and also on YouTube last week that the name of my show infringes upon JT Torres's academy. And my first reaction was anger, obviously, because now it's going to be a hassle for me to go and change all of my branding and everything. And I kind of felt frustrated. I felt, that I was kind of being, that it was going to, who is he to do something like that? I know he's a legend and everything, but like to him, he's already won. He's accomplished so much in the sport that why would he need to do this to me? And I sort of looked at it, I think, from the wrong angle at first. But as, a couple days went by, I thought about it and I said to myself, well, if I'm in his shoes and I've done all the things in the sport that he has done, and then somebody creates a podcast that is, like my gym name is On Guard Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. What if somebody named their podcast the On Guard Brazilian Jiu Jitsu podcast? I'd be pretty pissed off too. And after thinking about it for a little bit, I thought, you know what, this is totally understandable from JT Torres. And I should change the name of the podcast. And also, if you think about it, on this podcast, I don't pull punches. I don't edit the podcast. I talk about topics that a lot of people try to shy away from nowadays in today's social media square, things like politics, religion, racism. There's really no topics that I won't discuss. And it makes total sense if someone like that who's trying to run a business doesn't want to be associated with my opinions, but maybe inadvertently, just because of the name of the show, people think that the views that I project on this podcast reflect the views of JT Torres, which is simply not true. Just want to say JT Torres is someone who I've studied and looked up to for a long time. He's a legend in the sport. I have a lot of respect for JT Torres. And so I've made the decision to change the name of the podcast to the Everyday Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, if that's okay with JT Torres. I think the reason why I first thought about the name change in such a negative way was, well, obviously it would create work for me, but I'm going to show you right now my gym logo, and then I'd like to show you. Here are a couple of things that have come to my attention over the last year or so, where people are kind of using the OG together to push their brand or to push their T-shirt, or even this gym right here has a logo similar to mine. And never once did I think, I'm going to go after them or say, hey, you're ripping off my logo. It wasn't something that really popped into my mind. And so when I first, got message from JT, I thought, well, what's the big deal? Like, why would he care so much? But like I explained, this is a podcast where I touch on some difficult topics sometimes. It might be topics that JT Torres doesn't want to talk about at all, or my views aren't anything like his views, and so it is fair. It's the legal and the right thing to do to respect his business, and I'd like to apologize to JT Torres for simply just being negligent when it came time for me to open the podcast. I've started a couple businesses, and this is never something that I've ever run into before. And truthfully, I should have known that this podcast name was very, very similar to JT Torres' Academy. So, like I said, I will be changing the name of the podcast. A couple of things that I can take away from this, and hopefully, you can learn from my experience as well, is obviously when you're starting a business, double check to make sure that you're not going to run into any copyright or trademark issues down the road. But I also kind of was down for a couple of days when I first found out about this, because it meant that I would have to, in a way, not entirely, but in a way, I'd have to restart things. And this is kind of a fork in the road where, You know, I was asking myself questions like, should I continue with this project? Is this something that I think is important to continue? You know, guys, I appreciate all the support I get on the show, but the truth is I don't make money off the show. I actually lose money and a lot of time on the show. But I feel like it's important to discuss certain things, and I like giving the information out. And even if just one person messages me and says, "Hey, Matt, I really appreciated this concept that you brought to my attention. It helped me out a lot." Like, that really is worth it for me. So I figured, you know what, this is a time similar to a white belt who maybe is a couple of months in and he realizes this is going to be hard. This is not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of highs and lows, and the lows suck. And in this case, if I quit right now, I'll never know the potential of the podcast. I'll never know the potential of this project. It will just end right here. And so I've decided, okay, I'm going to keep going with it. I'm going to keep pressing forward. And I've learned, you know, in a time like this, that perseverance is so important. And just like what we strive to have in jiu-jitsu every day, where we're stubborn and we persevere through the hard times, this is just another opportunity for me to grow and to learn from a situation like this. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you guys. And again, if you want to support the show, check out on my online academy, onguardbjj.com. You can click join and check out the online academy for narrated sparring footage, all of the lessons that I do, the kids belt promotion section. There is written lectures, there's audio lectures, there's a ton of content on you, refereeing course, things like that. I really recommend you check it out. Plus, you'd be supporting the show and getting some content. You can also donate to my Patreon, not my Patreon page. I don't have one of those. You can donate to my PayPal account. I will leave the link in the show notes. But other than that, I just wanted to let you guys know that you can now find me on the Everyday Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and that will be the new name of the show. And as always, I really appreciate everyone's support. So thank you so much, and I'm going to see you again very soon.